Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance, where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Well, it wasn't going to last forever. I've been expecting a cooldown week after 4 incredibly busy weeks for the dance charts, and given that Ava Max expectedly saw a lot of songs actually stick, this meant that the charts more or less just recalibrate to fill in spots around her. As a result, this led to only 4 debuts, just as many returns and not very much notable movements, although given that we could see an influx of Rihanna next week, yeah, I'll absolutely take a breather. But sadly, I don't see anything from her taking over our number 1 with I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and Bibi Rexha, which still is finally getting rotated out on radio with streaming not lasting. It's just got no competition at the moment to really challenge it. Sadly, it looks like BZAP Music Sessions Volume 53 by BZAP and Shakira is stuck at number 2, where it's got radio and streaming but just not fast enough to challenge. What a goddamn shame. But what I do want to highlight is Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears back up to number 3, which just edged out on streaming against Cold Heart P&A remixed by Elton John and Dua Lipa at number 4. Given that Rihanna could very well see some top 5 debuts thanks to the Super Bowl with some of her dance-leaning singles, this song might actually be in danger of finally dying off next week, which given how long it's stuck around, I'm absolutely okay with that. This leaves 1035 by Tiesto featuring Tate McRae at a very promising position at number 5, as it's slowly starting to gain up the Hot 100 with growing radio streaming and sales. Given how consistent this is, I can see this capitalizing on the weeks after Rihanna's impact fades away. That's more than good news. But what's absolutely more interesting came in the bottom half of the top 10, where Break My Soul by Beyonce surged up to number 6 as it maintained a huge sales and streaming boost thanks to the Grammys. Given that this isn't going to last and inevitably fall back, plus the high list of debuts that are possibly incoming, I can't ignore this possibly actually being gone next week. We'll have to see what happens. Now, Miss You by Oliver Tree and Robin Schulz most likely will be fine even with it falling to number 7, but man, the streaming and radio is just not holding up for this. It's finally getting rotated out justifyingly so. On the opposite end, Trustful by Pink managed to hold on at number 8, even reaching the bubbling under properly this week. But given that radio and streaming are already on board with this, it's absolutely going to last moving forward, thank God for that. But back to collapses, man, BZAP Music Sessions Volume 52 by BZAP and Confedo absolutely nosedived to number 9, but the streaming was the only factor keeping it up initially, but the diverging to Volume 53 means it lost harder there and can very well be gone next week with what's coming too. Wow. But what will definitely not be gone next week is Metamorphosis by Interworld, once again holding at number 10, where the streaming is rising up at a fast rate, although no other channel support will allow this to get higher just yet. But yeah, given the aftermath of the album bomb, you'd expect a lot of falls and fall-offs, but in the latter, our only notable drop-offs were Jungle by Fred Again and Drugs from Amsterdam by Mal P, both exiting after 20 weeks and both on the borderline of the year-end list, although I've got to really hope they sneak in. Moving to our falls 2, we only had 2, both being debuts from last week. I mean, Real Spring by Skrillex and Blady was going to collapse to 40 off the debut, that's expected, but I also want to highlight Diamonds and Dance Floors by Ava Max being the sole fall from the album to 41. This album has held remarkably steady. 5 of the songs didn't even fall that hard this week. As I said, Ava Max's crossover potential with pop means we aren't getting rid of these, which for me is at least a positive given how generally solid the album is. But of course, what matters more on weeks like this are the jumps and comebacks, where we had the exact same number of comebacks as debuts. Mostly for the better. I mean, yes, Edge of 17 by Wooli got a rebound to 42, but it's counteracted with Chill Like That by Sunday Scaries and Pickup Lines at 47, Bullet Love by Felix Jan and Ray Dalton returning at a new peak at 45, and most pleasingly, Delilah Pull Me Out of This by Fred Again, back modestly high at 43. I can only hope these 3 stick around. Our jumps, meanwhile, mostly occupied the midsection of the charts, outside of Lay Low by Tiesto rebounding back up to 16. And Christ, there's not a single bad song here at all. I mean, Indie Human by Chris Lake and Artig was bound to rebound up to 31 anyways. It's already locked for a year-end list, which is insane to me, but the rest shocked me in the best way possible. Do It All Again by Punctual and Jordan Shaw at 37, Dash Star by Knock 2 continuing up to 36, Messy in Heaven by Ven B and Gerda up big to 34, and in the best news, Alive by KX5 featuring The Moth and the Flame rebounding up to 33. I'm amazed that last one is actually sticking around, but I can only hope it becomes a hit. That would be goddamn incredible to see. But okay, only 4 debuts this week, thank Christ, given the questionable quality of some of these. So let's start off with number 48, I Go Dancing by Frank Walker and Ella Henderson.
But I imagine you're right here, right next to me. 3 a.m. here again, and I'm still staring at my phone. If we're not dancing, I'd rather dance on my own.
I mean, it was only a matter of time before Frank Walker got his big breakthrough as the lead act. He's been racking up a decent number of charting songs alongside bigger DJs, which is most likely why Ella Henderson is even here at all. I was a little worried about this given Ella Henderson's messy run and Frank Walker's lack of quality in terms of charting collabs. And wow, this is as blatant a Kygo ripoff as you can get. Seriously, the piano-led tropical house production with heavy vocal chops and a brighter tone that doesn't match the heartbroken lyrics about dancing at all. Seriously, while I respect Ella Henderson going for this kind of honest reflection on heartbreak and how much she can't quite escape the memories of dancing with this guy, and I'll give her credit for sounding much better on the mic, especially with the vocoder passages before the hook that sound quite nice, but this production, whilst pretty, doesn't really match her energy. It's just way too dry and feels loud for the sake of being loud. So yeah, I'll give Frank Walker credit. This isn't bad, but I don't see myself coming back to this much. But on that topic, number 46, Differente by Steve Aoki and CNCO.
Aquí está, solo quédate, dime que todo será diferente.
Oh boy, another round of Steve Aoki. Why the hell do we have to keep giving this guy charting songs? I mean, I didn't hate New York, but I haven't returned to it once since reviewing it and seeing this collab with CNCO, a reggaeton boy band who haven't seen huge success in years. It just made me feel really drained. I mean, after ruining Faruko on Aya, didn't Steve Aoki get the hint that nobody wants Latin collaborations out of him? And wow, this is a total fucking dirge. It's not good at all. For starters, you'd think given CNCO's history of making fun upbeat Latin pop, you'd actually get them to sound invested here. Seriously, every single singer sounds like they're phoning it in, the mixing makes their vocals sound unnecessarily loud, and the vocal melodies are incredibly bland. Speaking of bland, this production sucks. A weak bass line against a really flat percussion loop that never goddamn evolves and remains stuck in this absolutely tedious mess where the hook has no power or energy at all. I don't really know what to say about this. It's absolutely forgettable and thoroughly mediocre all the way down, and given it will be gone next week, we can only hope Steve Aoki moves away from Latin music like this. He sucks at it. Let's move on. This isn't good. Number 28, Titans by Excision and Wooli. Okay, this kind of caught me off guard. For one, Excision hasn't had a high debut as this is a lead before. This is actually the first time I've talked about him on the series, surprisingly enough, but also because it's by far the highest charting song of Wooli, a rhythm and dubstep producer who's been getting a modestly high following for years now. But okay, I had no positive expectations for this, given that I found Excision to be one of the most one-dimensional and awful dubstep producers in the scene. Onyx especially is an inexcusably bad album, and wow, this isn't actually that bad. I mean, it's not good. The noisy leads sound incredibly lazy and badly mixed. The build-ups are generic as hell with set leads attempting to convey bombast and absolutely failing. And the dubstep drop in the middle is absolutely terrible with its slow tempo and poor integration of screeches that gives it absolutely no power. That being said, I really like the bass house drops here. Yes, it's covered by that lead, but the beat behind it does go modestly hard. And even if it's a blatant Space Aces ripoff, I can see the environment where Excision's bass house like this has its audience. So yeah, the bass house drops might be the only thing I truly like about this. It's not a good song, but by the standards of Excision, this is as good as it gets. So yeah, not bad. Number 21, Xena by Skrillex and Barghouti. So okay, I've recently listened to the new Skrillex album, Quest for Fire, and given I do expect an album bomb for it plus my personal plans related to it, all I'll say is the album is absolutely fantastic and worth every bit of the wait. So in preparation, here's the last pre-album single featuring a Palestinian singer in Barghouti, who I gotta give credit to Skrillex for elevating through his art. It's really commendable. And yeah, shocker, this is goddamn great. Easily one of the best songs on the album. For one, I love how they integrated Barghouti's voice. Given the right band of Arabic and world music influence, that matches really well against the tribal percussion and a much bigger sounding mix that has that really nice dark desert vibe. The production though is what really made this work for me, where Skrillex's trademark insane bass production plays well against satisfying percussion and vocal samples that flow so well next to Barghouti's voice. The drops in particular switch things up so much, ranging from the abstract lead to even the genre for that final drop that switches the song into a techno adjacent track and sounds absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, it's definitely not for everyone, but for me, I genuinely love this track more and more with every listen. I look forward to seeing a rebound in 2 weeks, I can only hope the album gives it some real momentum. Fantastic song. And yeah, it's easily the best here. And really the only song I truly like from this week. Worst is also easy being Differente by Steve Aoki and CNCO. I can only hope we throw Steve Aoki's terrible attempts at reggaeton in the bin where they belong. Next week, Rihanna's Super Bowl performance might cause serious impact. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, that's all for this episode of an analysis of dance. See you next time.